Sorry guys, I'm ill prepared for this. I forgot. Oh, I'm tightening, not loosening that. No, here we go, that's the right way. Let's see, it's gonna be jiggly for a second, gonna be jiggly. Let's see, where do I want this? Is that where I want it? I think I want it here. Five people. Five subscribers. Thunder, like, let's see here. There we go. So, I'm gonna work while I'm doing this a little bit. So, guys, in the last week, give me a second here. No, I just wanted to address this. We were kind of talking about it in the Instagram live feed. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, probably should. I do stuff back and forth. I gotta do this. I have got to set some limits on things. So, there's the link. There's this. I try to tailor my service so that it's pretty ubiquitous and easy to understand and things like that. We run into problems where I don't think everybody understands that there's limits to what I'll do. When I say, okay, my YouTube video that I send out to customers has got my price structure. Everything up to 8,000 grit, that's not a special grind, $25. 8,000 to 10,000, $30. Anything above 8,000, or I mean 10,000, I mean, $35. Caveat to that, where'd it go? Recurve. Recurves are a different animal. Recurves all start at $35. And I can only take them to about 2,000 grit, so that's where they max out. So, which this one came out really good. This is that Tangram Rumble that I was doing in the Instagram live feed. So there's, you know, there's caveats to the standard price structure for sharpening because it's, you know, it's dependent on blade type. I'm not sharpening a double-edged knife for $25. It's not the way it works. I should be charging $50 because that's sharpening two knives. Same with a Tonto, same with a recurve. Recurves are just a different animal because they're difficult. What's up? But then there's some other limitations, like my refinishing. Refinishing starts at $100. I barely make any money on that because, well, I kind of do because I usually do more than one. I can do two knives at a time, and I can usually do at about a knife in 4 to 6 hours. I can do one knife. What's up, Jack? So let me see here, turn on live. So I'm not going to answer a lot of you guys' questions in this until I get towards the end. So there's that. I can't, you know, there's some finishes that are going to cost more. If you want a satin, it's going to be way more. You want the finish like what's on my Mordax, which is that cool, polished, super, super fine stone wash that looks polished and matte at the same time. You want something like that? That takes 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days. That means that I have to make multiple trips to the shop to do it, to check on it. I have to go up to just drive up, check and see how much longer it needs to tumble, throw it back in, and either I go home and sharpen or I hang out at the shop if I've got work to do up there, and you know, for another 8 to 10 hours it sits in the tumble, and then I check it. And then if I do that, that has to be resharpened. So it's not just the finish, it's all combined. And so $100 is a starting point. That's like if you just want me to take it apart, re-anodize the handles, throw it back together, and not really do anything. If I do a blade, then you got to deal with the price of the additional price of sharpening. So it's just, it gets frustrating. And I know that every small business person goes through this. It gets frustrating that I spend days, literally days, dealing with a customer to try and hammer out pricing and things like that. And they're like, oh, that's just too much. And I'm like, but I told you how much it was a few days ago. I told you it was gonna be this price. We can't go back to the 100, especially like if you want a satin. Let's take a satin as an example. You see how blade steel this is. This is gonna get done on aluminum oxides. I gotta get them out. So, you know, if I'm doing a satin, any way you look at it, if I do a hand satin, it's gonna be expensive. If I do a satin on the grinders, it's gonna be expensive. But it's not gonna be $100. I'm telling you right now, very few of the knives that I refinish wind up being $100. They always wind up being more. That's a starting point. That's, you want me to take it apart, blast it, give it a quick tumble, etch it, and then anodize it the proper way. Because like I've said, there's guys out there, yes, I know there's guys out there that will do it for like 30 bucks, but I've seen the work they're doing, and not to be overly critical of their, it's not great. It looks like a $35 anno. So there's that. I just want, God, I don't know, I just want to get this out there so that, you know, I spend so much time dealing with each individual customer. The frustrating one is where I'd spend that time dealing with each individual customer for hours, like literally hours, and then nothing. Oh, that's too much. Oh, that's the price we talked about 2 days ago when we first started this dialogue. By the way, I'm getting ready to sharpen a Kershaw Link. I do not dislike this knife. I had one of these that was mine. I carried it a few times. It was a bit beefy, and I didn't like the pocket clip, but I carried it a few times, and then it wound up being a giveaway on the channel. Speaking of which, there will be a giveaway. Right, and I don't like the cheap look. And sometimes it can be gaudy. It's a matter of, there's times too where I'm saving the customer for themselves. That's what I said in the video last time. There's a lot of guys that will pay. I mean, like, that doesn't look gaudy and over the top. It's subtle. Well, no, this is not subtle. The anno on this is, though, just that subtle bronze with some blue. And so it can be really frustrating. And part of it's just because I haven't been feeling good and that, and then the other thing is I'm gonna have to put limits on the way I communicate with customers. I already have put limits on phone calls and things like that, but the problem I run into is that I still get a lot of messages, and I'm not calling any one person out. Their anno is on aluminum most of the time, though. So back to what I was saying. See, I said I wasn't going to do that. The problem I run into is that I have some customers that I formed a relationship with to begin with when I didn't have near as many subscribers. But at this point, there's like 4,000 people that have my phone number. And if you could see, my phone's on Do Not Disturb. That's the only way I can get anything done. If you guys were to see how many calls I get per day, and I feel bad because the thing is, oh, that's grown really well for a Kershaw. I'm not seeing one little low spot, back to heel. I feel bad because I do want to talk to everybody, but what it's going to be is, this is going to be the forum to talk to everybody. This is just how it's going to be. I can't continue to take phone calls at 9, 10 o'clock at night. And no, Robert, I'm not talking about you. I do need to give you a call back. But, you know, I get phone calls, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, what time is it where you're at? It's 11 o'clock at night. A lot of businesses open where you're at 11 o'clock at night. I got a call. Not last night. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb last night. Because I went with my daughter to her it wasn't even really a school trip. It was like an extra credit thing, and I met him there at the park. And then my daughter and I stayed after. She went and watched a ballet performance because ballet is her major, so she did. No, not your calls. You don't call me at 11 o'clock at night, bro. But, I mean, I'm basically going to have to I think I'm just going to have to leave my phone on Do Not Disturb and just ignore everything. And then when I get ready to call specific people, then I'll call them. I mean, I usually don't have a problem calling people, but these days we're at the point where about the only time I get to make phone calls, because because that's when I have time, is on Sunday, and that's my only day off, and I want to spend that time with my family. I work 6 days a week, guys. Sometimes 7. So I don't want, I hope no one feels like I'm being, I never thought that this was the way it was going to be once I started a YouTube channel and that I would have that many people. I never figured I would have 3,000 subscribers. I didn't plan ahead when I put my phone number in all those old videos. And it's still on my business card that shows up in the intro, which that might change. I think I'm gonna take my phone number. Well, no, I kind of have to leave my phone number on the business card. But I mean, basically what I'm saying is, guys, I don't want you to think, for you guys that do call and text and things, I don't want you to think it's, I don't want to talk. The problem is I do, I just can't. Like right now, I'm doing this while I'm sharpening a knife. That is a weird low spot on this. I wish I could show you, I just don't have the video for it. One of those apps with a second number. Here's the thing. I got enough stuff I already deal with without needing a second number for, my wife was like, well, change it to the house call for the house number. But see, here's the thing, my phone, at 7 o'clock at night, my phone automatically goes on Do Not Disturb. I had taken it off of Do Not Disturb for something else, and then I got a call at, late at night, and then I got a call from my buddy, and he wanted to talk. My buddy was, he's going through a rough patch. He's going through a rough patch right now. He's been in for 17 years, not 19, as I thought. But he's basically getting medically retired. He doesn't know what else to do. He's got PTS really bad. And I was afraid he was going to try and off himself. I can't even afford to pay myself most times, Neves, let alone pay someone else. So, no joke, I haven't paid myself yet this month. So like, basically until I can get something figured out and get the website up where all interactions happen on the website, then basically this is how we're going to interact, and via email. That's it. I mean, I really can't. I don't have the kind of time in my day anymore. I have to do all of the business interactions. I have to do family stuff. I have to do marketing. I have to go on trips. I have to go and, you know, it's just no real good way for me to do any other type of interaction. So basically this is me saying sorry if it seems like I'm a dick. It just all of a sudden it just got overwhelming, the amount of texts and email or texts and phone calls and Reddit referrals and things like that. It's and the frustrating one is not being able to come up with a way to help to do something for a customer that's in their price range. That gets frustrating. I want to be able to do every knife, but I also know that I can't do shit for free. And there's stuff that people want, but they want it in a price range where I lose money on it, you know? I mean, when I refinish a knife, if you really wanted to look at it, I don't make near as much refinishing a knife as I do resharpening knives, period. That's the thing, and I mean, I feel like a dick because I turn my phone off and I work. But when I say that, and then there's people like, you shouldn't feel like a dick. You've put it out there. Jesus Christ, it's getting hot. Oh, I'm not supposed to wear this sweatshirt to work in. My wife already told me. I have one just like it, and the pocket has tons of little cut marks, and I figure out what it is because I'll get lazy, and instead of finding a towel, I'll wipe a blade off. You see all these little holes? Those little holes that are in this shirt where you can see light through it and shit? Yeah, you probably can't. It's because I do this. I cut the blade. I know, but I mean, people don't see that. People see it and they're like, yeah, but I mean, like, people will have me refinish, and that's, people want me to do these elaborate refinishes on some knives. But the fact is, they're sending me knives that, let's put it this way, unless you think, unless it's a specific reason, like sentimental value or things like that, I wouldn't send me a knife that does not at least cost $150 to refinish. What was that? What Jack said something. Be real. I'll say it so you don't have to. And it has nothing to do with stupidity. It just has, a lot of it is new people into the knife community, and they don't realize the difficulties that go along with and liability in. There's a chance I fuck up a knife. You send me a knife, there's a chance I gotta fuck it up, and I got news for you. I can't eat that cost. That's not my part. That's not my problem. I basically, I'm gonna have to do a waiver or disclaimer, you know, that people are gonna have to sign, basically, is what I'm gonna have to do, you know. I'm not liable for any damage that comes from me doing exactly what you told me to do. Case in point. Case in point. If I was to do a satin on a knife, I talked about this in the Instagram live feed, and I took the satin and I ran it down, I would take off material, and therefore I would change the interface between the detent ball and the hole, because now there's less material. And I gotta clean that hole out, I gotta deepen it, maybe open it a little bit, get that ball to drop back down in, because now it's shallow and it's not going in and you don't have the level of detent. If I do a satin on a blade, it doesn't matter if I do it by hand or if I do it on a machine, it's gonna cost the same. I can get away with it on a satin. I don't have to worry about detent because I can stop before I hit the detent hole. It's usually not somewhere in that area where you're gonna see it. If I do it on the machine, I'm gonna have to adjust the detent hole. Flip side is, it takes forever to do a hand satin. Like literally hours and hours, sometimes days to get a good satin. Unless you're using a specific machine for it. If I do it on a machine, it doesn't take very long, but then I have to spend that amount of time adjusting the detent hole. And there's a chance it might not be the same. So it's just, there is no cheap way. So I just feel bad that I can't tell every customer, yeah, sure, I can do that. I would love to. I'd love to be able to do that. But I just know there's limitations and cost involved. Like I said, if you want that finish like what's on my Mordax, that's days, literally days to do it. Especially if it's a hard steel. And sometimes there's just stuff that I can't do. Like I've got customers that want me to, they want me to refinish the blade, but then they have these caveats like, oh, but I want to maintain the logos and things like that. And I'm like, that's part of the refinish. You're going to lose those logos. I can't duplicate those logos. I don't have the laser to cut those logos back into the ceramic after I'm done. I can't do that. So if I'm refinishing a knife, you're losing your logos. Unless it's something like I did on this, where they're etched in. And I mean, even if I was to have blasted and ceramic this, I would still be able to see my logos because that laser etch comes back through. So, and the other thing, I'm not at all ever again taking personal checks or money orders. There's two reasons for that. One, it's so hard if there's additional, because I don't know whether a knife is gonna need reprofiled like this does. Like I'm working on a reprofile right now. I don't know ahead of time whether that's the case. You can't see it in pictures. I tried it with pictures and you can't see it. So you send me a check to cover, unless you're a local customer, you send a check for me to do it and then it comes out extra. Either I'm just gonna have to eat the extra, or you've got to either send me another money order and another check. And I don't know, I will never do money orders again, ever. It's become such a pain. There's no place within walking distance of my house where I can cash a money order. There are no places. The liquor store won't do it anymore. The grocery store won't do it anymore. Money orders are starting to become a thing of the past. I have money orders sitting on my counter where I've been trying to get. I'll go places and I just take it with me. And I'm like, hey, do you cash money orders? They're like, no. Luckily, I have to go to the bank. Yakov and I have something worked out where I have to go to the bank and set up an account for my daughter. But I was like, so? The bank is a 20-minute drive from here. My bank, where I can deposit it in person, is a 20-minute drive from here. They won't take it electronic. I tried doing an electronic deposit. My post office won't, unless it's a postal money order, which mine is not. Mine is a Western Union money order, and so I have to go to my bank. But like I said, closest branch is like 20 minutes away for me to go to my bank. So no more money orders. There's that. Personal checks, like I said, pain in the ass, unless you're a local customer and we can just... Local customers that drop off and pick up, like straight razors and things like that, I'll take a personal check from them, because the fact is, I can get paid after. Local customers are the only people that pay me after anymore. Everybody's got to pay up front. Not too bad. There's a spot I can't fix on this though. It's too... But see, that's the thing. In this electronically connected world of Twitter and Yelp and Facebook and all this and all the forums, you do that, and then somebody badmouths you on a forum, and then there's this thing where now people have this recreational outrage where they have no idea what's going on, but they'll jump right on the bandwagon and fucking, yeah, it's bullshit, you should fucking da-da-da. And the next thing you know, your business is getting bad reviews and you're getting doxxed where people are just doing things intentionally to hurt your business. So you gotta walk a fine line, especially a guy like me, one person running a small shop like this at my house. One bad review could ruin me. One. You know what I mean? It doesn't take much to fuck up a really small business like mine. So that's just kind of where we're at. I'll leave this running. I doubt if I'm going to get a chance to actually shoot a video today. I had more to do than I realized. I have some stuff I got to do for Nico too, and for Matt. And I want to do a video about the Wii Wasabi, but if I do, it probably will get done this afternoon and will not post until tomorrow or later in the week. So live feed is going to be some of the content that I've just been busy. I've got stuff going on. I've just been busy. So shooting a video and taking the time to do it, that's the other thing that you got to take into account, how much time I spend doing YouTube videos as promotion and things like that. Yeah, this cuts really well on these aluminum oxides. That was a good choice, Mike. Good thinking. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, me too. I thought it was a good idea too. Yep, thought so. So there's my rant. What's everybody else got going on in their lives? Huh, that's weird. Well, we've determined it's not my, hey, what's up, Ben? I am not gonna lie to you. I did a video about it once, I think. Sometimes the softer steels are more of a nightmare. This one's perfect. I'm not saying that this one isn't. Some of the softer steels can be... Ooh, almost stuck it in my hand. That stone rolled. Some of the softer steels can be as challenging, if not more challenging. Why is it a good time right now? What'd you say? This is a good time to promote the GoFundMe. You guys all know about the GoFundMe. It hasn't done anything in weeks, though. No one has donated to it in weeks. But part of that is because I can't get them to fix the bank information. I've resent it to them several times, so... That's not the stone I want. That's not the stone I want. Where's the stone I want? There she be. So. Yep. I'm not worried about it. Things will work out. Things will work out. I don't sweat it, Jack. So, and that's part of the thing that Yakov and I have going on is he's decided he's going to help support my daughter's ice skating. And so that's why she's got to have a bank account. So that's going to help a lot. It's just, it's frustrating. I had really hoped that this business would take off better than it has. And then it shows times where it's doing it, and then there's times it doesn't, and then and it's 100% me. It's because I get frustrated. It has nothing to do with the business itself. The business is the way it was 6-8 weeks ago. It's just, I get in these moods where I just, yeah, now it's time for sharpening as opposed to talking. But this is sharpening up really nice. I do not dislike this knife. I dislike it because it's not something I can carry. It's just uncomfortable for me to carry, but it's not at all a bad knife, and it's sharpened up really nice. There is a thick spot at the back. I'm gonna have to talk to Mr. Anderson, see if he wants me to take that out with a file, because I can't really do it on the stones because it's so far back. I'm hitting on here trying to get back into it. It's a low spot. Just can't quite get the material off the way I want. Where's that other stone? There we go. 18 of us. So what's everyone doing? Alex is probably at work, goofing off. It's not horrible, but I'm just gonna leave it. And if Charles wants me to fix it, it's gonna be hard to do because it's black. And so the only way I can do it is to tape everything off and take that off with a file, which yeah, this one. So oh, yeah, guys, check this out. That 8000 grit I kept telling you was cracking, and there's a big crack here, there's another crack here, and this piece fell off. I came out and I grabbed my stone out of the drawer, and this is that one I mounted, and it was in pieces. I was like, what the fuck? So I have a stone that I'm using in Interm, and it does okay, but the problem is it doesn't do great like I want it to. So we're gonna do a test on this 8000 grit. Where's my refinishing? There it is. I gotta take some of the slick off of this. Just real quick like that. Jesus, what the fuck did I sharpen last time? That's not gonna work. This one might have to sit and wait. No, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. I was afraid that that stuff was gonna be stuck in there and embedded into So now I can go back and I can do 10,000 on those others, but I think I will hold off. This, I just hadn't gotten this out. I am currently taking a tolerance break, Jack, because I couldn't get that way. I mean, here's the thing. I've got other stones that are 8,000 grit that I can use. I just don't want to get them out. And then, you know, because those are reserved for straight. There's my big bench stones. And it's got, that 8,000's got a crack. So, but it's not cracked. All of my stones that are mounted are cracked, except for that 10,000 that's not mounted. And I'm just, like I said, I'm really disappointed. I'm never gonna order Trocera stones ever again. I'm sorry, they do give you a great finish, just, I'm gonna have to find something else. But for right now, I've got all the stuff I need, and so this is one of those ones that's probably gonna like the chromium oxide. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Kershaw Link. Not a bad knife. If I remember right, I think Birdshot liked this one a lot too. Good enough. So, oh, what's next? Oh, the Natrix. I don't know. I'm not getting any errors. Is everyone getting errors, or is it just Jack? Two of these. I gotta grab that copper Natrix. Hang on just a second, guys. My 40 is in the shop because I dropped it and the mag release button broke. The spring broke in it. I dropped it on the floor. I tripped and I had it. I was taking, but so this is what was on my bedstand. So this is what's out to protect everyone's valuables that are on my workbench, which is my small little concealable 22. Oh, wait, I mean 44. So, yeah, this is, what, this? This parts your head. Turn your head into a canoe. I don't want to put my favorite revolver on this counter with all this nastiness and shit. That is my favorite revolver. Yeah, 44 Magnum. That's a 629 Classic in stainless. So, as you can see, I was gonna say, I don't know if it'll work. I haven't tried it. So you're talking about moving one back and leaving one up the front and then taking the two middle screws and putting it on this side. I think that there's still enough, there's still gonna be enough lateral play. No, I didn't want to grab the little 45. And so that one hasn't. Okay, please tell me you're joking. Please tell me you're joking, because there is no weapon more dangerous than an unloaded gun, because that's exactly what I want to have to do. I want to tell the bad guys that are coming into my house, hang on a second, I got to load this. You must be a Californian. Yeah, I cut the sharpening notch out a little bit, so if you look, the profile on mine, well, not mine, on this one, looks a little different because that edge was so poor at the heel that it was gonna have to happen. I did it to Nico's as well. He's on here somewhere. What was the deal on this one? It's one of those, it's D2. Okay, cool. So Mr. Anderson's is, I personally think most knives need a, well, most knives that come into my house from the factory are needing, this one doesn't even have, the edge doesn't even go all the way up the tip. Can you see it? I don't think you guys can see it. The edge doesn't even go all the way at the tip. I'm gonna have to, it sweeps up right at the tip. It doesn't even have an edge grind at the tip. I'm gonna have to, oh yeah, it's pretty fucking horrible. Pretty bad, guys. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. I might have taken off too much metal for you to really see it accurately. Let me get behind the, let me get behind this here. No, that's not gonna work. I locked that. Ah, here, we'll just do it this way. Let's turn it around. So can you see that edge goes all the way up to the tip? And then, hang on. And then, see how that one doesn't? I don't know if you can see it. See how that one cuts off? See it? I'm coming back. That's hard. That's hard to do. That's hard to do from behind. I hate trying to do shit from behind the camera. It's pretty bad, guys. It's pretty bad. I'll tell you the thing I don't like about this knife. When you put it in your hand, you squeeze, you can feel the lock bar go over further after its initial. It slides over. It doesn't feel stable. I don't. Oh yeah, I can still. Here's the problem you're gonna have, Dave. There, blade banner. The issue you're gonna have with that is it's already like. I can still shift the lock bar. And I mean, granted, I've got fairly strong hands. I can shift the lock bar even with all 4 screws in it. I think you're gonna shift that lock bar a lot worse with only 2. I think it's just gonna be a continuing issue. I think you just need to forget about the fact that it's got holes, just pretend they're not there. Or the other option, I imagine that's a 256. That's a T, it's a T8 256 thread, I believe. It might be a 6, but I'd be close. It might be a 7 or an 8. 256 thread. Just find the screws in the right length and just get an extra 2 button head. Just a dome head fucking T7 256 thread that's, even if it's too long, you could always just grind it off to the point where it does fit, and you might be able to do it that way and just have an extra set of screws. So problem I'm gonna see is that the screws for the pocket clip are longer than the other 2, and I think if you take that pocket clip off, that you're gonna run into, nah, maybe not. I thought maybe they would hit, but it does not appear as though that would be an issue. Wow, this is still bad. Just the tip, just for a minute. So yeah, guys, that's not bad. I sharpened, got that knife completely done. Finished another one, it's not bad. Lots of reprofiling on this. I like Kershaw's designs. Don't get me wrong. This is not a bad design. It's not good for my hands, but Kershaw's are always ground freaking horrible, guys. And I mean, it's because they are a budget knife. I mean, you can't get too upset, but I mean, yeah, that thing's shit. I can feel that thing moving when I mean, I've owned a lot of Kershaws, and they're not bad knives. It's just they always need a little bit of special attention when it comes to edge grind and stuff like that. But that's as good as that one's gonna get. But you know, they're not bad. I mean, they're good. One of the best knives I ever had was a Kershaw Leek. Very, very good knife. My dad had a Kershaw Leek and the Kershaw Onion. He had two. He had one, the bigger one and the smaller one. He had them both. My mom uses them now. Those are my mom's knives now. I had a burr. I had the blur. I had the blur Tonto, and I actually sent it off because my daughter, when she was little, found it on the couch and she tossed it. She was playing and she tossed it, and it hit the floor. And you know, the blur was assisted open, and it hit the spine and it snapped open. The entire tip of the blade came off. Kershaw replaced that knife for me. So I mean, like I said, you weren't gonna hear me complain about like customer service from Kershaw. They are an extremely good company. So they do a good job. I do like the fact they did this in D2 because this knife, a lot of Kershaw's knives need a better steel. That's the other thing. I would, especially when I was active duty, when I was in the military, I just wore knives out because the steel was sometimes too soft. And so I would wear knives out and then have to buy new knives. And I like the idea D2 is not great, but it's not horrible. It's actually really good steel. I like D2. And that means that something like this would last and wear better than something that's in this Chinesium, who knows. I'm not a fan of S30V, but it definitely would be better than some of the cheaper steels that they're using. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of those Chinese MOV, CRMOV steels are not bad at all. But I've had some knives come that were just so soft. M390 is way up there in my list of things that I like in a steel. Not a fan of the S125V. Now that I've made a couple knives in it, the edge on it is weird. It's sharp, don't get me wrong. Matt's knife is ridiculously sharp. It just doesn't feel sharp. It'll cut paper and stuff like that, and it's gonna hold that edge forever. I just don't like I'm not a fan of the actual edge. So I think that this small batch of them that I did in S125V are gonna be the only ones. I'm gonna find something else. If I continue to make knives, it's gonna be something else. And I might not be using 20 CV. I might use something that's a little easier for the average Joe to sharpen, and then just do a really good heat treat on it. So that was 250, 650. Oh, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I mean, I got to see what's available. S35VN is not easy or cheap to get. So, I mean, I'm going to look at some of the other steels that are out there and available. I hope I'm not seeing shipping start to... Oh, so I had a guy. I've got a follower, subscriber slash customer. He had a Pilar, the CRKT Pilar. And he sent me a picture. He's like, Mike, I've never had this happen. He's like, I'm sharpening this knife. And he's like, the entire length of the edge, the entire length, it was chipped, like deep chips. Like, dude, he was measuring them at like a millimeter or two all the way into the blade as he was, and I was like, what the fuck is, and these weren't like chips like this. These were cracks. The whole blade was cracking. And I don't mean just at the very apex. I mean down in, like a millimeter or two. I was like, huh. I don't know. And so I was, you know, postulating what could probably cause that. I asked Elliot. Elliot was like, carbide tear out, haha. He's like, I'm joking. And so I got to thinking about it, and I was like, the only thing that really I could think of would do that is if that knife went into heat treat and got hardened, but never got tempered. So he contacted, I think he contacted Blade HQ, where he bought it, and they said, well, there's not much we can do for you, you know, but like get in touch with the company, see what they can do. And I think they said, I think he told him they told him if he couldn't get a resolution that way, maybe they would readdress taking care of it. But, you know, it's not Blade HQ's fault. You know, so I don't know. I haven't talked to him. I'm gonna have to readdress that and see what he says finally happened and if they figured out what was going on. So, where are we at? 47 minutes. Okay, guys, I like to keep my live feeds at or under an hour. But I will keep going if you guys, it's 30 of y'all. It's a good showing. I mean, if you guys want to stick around, we'll do it. I mean, yeah, but I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be good by the time it gets there. Did you say the whole burrito or just the wrapper? I mean, yeah. Okay, I'll keep going. Like I said, like I said earlier, I wish that I could make every customer happy. Glad there weren't any knives in there. I wish I could make every customer happy. I need to talk to that guy that's, I've put it off. I haven't readdressed it. The guy that sent me the Microtech and I made it look like it came from the factory and he was upset that I evened out the front bevel. And I think that was a lack of communication. Just, I don't think, every once in a while there's people that just do not know how to communicate exactly what they want. And I thought it's what he wanted. Apparently it wasn't. I feel bad. I don't like unhappy customers. I don't have very many of them, but every once in a while you wind up with a guy that is unhappy with the work you did. You kind of have to address it, but he seems so upset. I just want to give him some cool down time, and maybe, hopefully he watches the video. But I know what did it. I know what did it. Okay. So this happens. You got to be careful with this. This happens with a Scotch-Brite. You see that? Where it's really shiny there? They were chamfering off, just knocking off the sharp edges before it went into tumble. And it, they went too far on it because it's easy. Scotch-Brite will fuck some shit up. It will. All right, let's see here. Rinse this a little bit. Make sure there's no. Now we're at like the 1,000 grit range where you got to be careful with making sure there's no. What the fuck is that? Thousand grit, you want to make sure there's no grit it's picked up and stuff. Once you start getting to 1,000 grit, it's not exactly what I consider sharpening. It's more refining. Well, I've gotten 2, 3, 4, 5 knives done. I need to get going, gotta start sandblasting. All right, Nico, take it easy. I'll see you this weekend, probably, I don't know. We'll get it figured out when Jakob's gonna get here and when we can get together. So. Everybody tells me I want me to keep doing this, and then they start taking off. Kidding. I know people have lives, things to do. All right, I gotta send a guy an invoice. Apparently, oh, that's the other thing. So with the PayPal, my nose itches. All right. I don't have to send you an invoice. If I give you an estimate, you can go right on there and pay it. Because the problem is I got a guy who wants me to send him an estimate, but he doesn't know his PayPal. So it makes it difficult. I can't just, it's a lot easier for you to find me. Pretty simple, michael.emler@me.com, that's my PayPal. I think you can even type in Crazy Sharp if you want to know, Crazy Sharp LLC. Pretty sure you can do it that way. I set it up. I've got it set up so both my emails work. My personal, which is the @me.com, and then the Gunmonkey 1974, which was my Gmail, and I didn't realize that. The thing is, that's the one that gets the least fucking garbage. I wish I could have it more professional. But the problem is that I want to send. Oh, what was this? I got a message. Damn it! I already called. Okay, so I sent some stuff to Canada, and I got to call Robert about this. The neck knives that I made for Monkey, the neck knives I made for Robert in Canada got held up at UPS Canada to make sure that they were going to pass through customs. And I talked to them this morning, and I just got another message saying that they need me to contact them about the contents of the package. So I don't think that the lady truly got it taken care of like she told me when I spoke to them on the phone. So I gotta call UPS Canada again. It's not a prohibited item. It's a small fixed blade knife, which is not prohibited. I checked all the rules. I explained that to her. I told her, I was like, basically it's a modified chisel that's been curved so that it can be used for woodworking and things like that. I don't feel good, guys. My stomach, I'm 99% sure it has to do with the fact that I drank an entire bottle of fucking Jameson's on Saturday night. But my stomach doesn't feel good. And they are a useful little knife. Okay, Lynn Studio. I don't know if I've ever seen, yeah, too much Jameson's. My guts are fucked. I don't know if I've ever seen you on a stream. You new subscriber? Or just happened to stumble across me doing a live feed? All right, I'll do this one here. This D2, I will say that the D2 on this is run soft as well. Just like that Iona that I did earlier. If you were watching me on Instagram, the Iona, oh fuck, definitely, the steel on this is a good bit softer than some of the other D2, but it's not horrible. It's just, it's softer because I'm noticing how it interacts with the stone. It's just getting sharp though. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is sharp. I think I was talking about it on the Instagram live feed. The softer steel, I might have been here. Softer steels can be even harder to sharpen than the harder steels. The harder steels, it's kind of hard to fuck them up. It really is hard to mess them up because they're hard, they're resilient. You can't take off too much material on one side or the other by accident. But the softer steels, it's a definite possibility. You. Yakov, I got news for you. We're cutting my hair when you get here. That weekend, we're gonna cut it because at this point, I do not care if it's long enough to donate or not. I can't stand this shit anymore. I might do it this weekend. I don't know yet. Before you get here. Just to get it out of the way. So what time? Amber, what time is it? It's noon. So what you said to your boyfriend? No, I'm not shaving it. My wife will leave me. She told me years ago I was not allowed to shave my head. It's going to be short. I'm just going to get a good, decent haircut. Be so nice. My head won't weigh 100 pounds. My CPAP mask will fit on my head right. I won't have to worry about my respirator. Won't have to worry about my respirator pulling the hair out of my head when I put the fucking straps on. Oh, you can ask Nico. I am the king of witty retorts. There's a whole fucking list of them. The second somebody says something, I'm like, oh, ha, I got one. No, she will leave me. You think I'm joking? I was told years ago. I cut my hair all off. Not like bald, but like, I mean, like it was short. And she's like, don't ever do that again. She's like, I can't, nope. She seems to be okay with it falling out. But cutting it all off and shaving my head? Ooh. She's got a problem with that. I don't get it. It's not like my hair was ever long. she met me, I was in the military. I always kept it high and tight. Yeah, there's just that's not scratch pattern. That's just a cloudy mark in the stud. Every once in a while too, certain steels, I've noticed this. Oh, holy shit, it's been an hour. There are certain steels that will get a cloudiness to them, period, in just like specific spots. And I've talked to Elliot about that. And he goes, sometimes during heat treat, you know, it's weird. You wind up with a little spot where there's some carbides that just kind of conglomerate together, and you just can't, they're really hard, and you just can't quite do what you want with them. He's like, it doesn't hurt anything. He says, it's just, every once in a while, while during the heat treat, you try and get it all uniform, but every once in a while, it'll be like a little spot where those carbides come in, or it could have been a flaw in the steel, or maybe something didn't get completely dissolved during the smelting process, and I'm like, that makes sense. It's not scratches, it's just a little cloudy. No, not usually. Jack, you don't cut your hair. I've seen your hair. Don't try to fool me. No, D2 usually doesn't, and I just took it to fucking 10,000. So what usually happens is you'll get a spot where it's cloudy and it almost looks like a stain. And sometimes that's just a spot where there's just some undistributed, like a clump of little carbides that formed, and it's not very big. It's just a tiny, tiny little, like a smudge. And sometimes you can polish it off, but it's on this one, you probably can't even see it. You got to look at it real close. There's a little spot right up towards the tip. It just is a little cloudy area back into the edge bevel. Nico's seen it. I showed him on, it happens on S35VN. It happens on S35VN Spyderco's, or not Spyderco's, Benchmade's S35VN. It'll happen, that's the one that I see it happen on a lot, is where you get little, they just like little stains, like watermarks. You know how that when you get your car's out in the rain and it gets the little watermarks that are kind of white that you see, but they don't really affect the color? That's what I'm seeing sometimes. S30V is one, and it doesn't have anything to do with it not liking to go to a specific grit. It's just weird. John, how have you been, sir? All the natives have the robot edge, and I would put money on it that it's screwed up. Link, that's this, I mean at least. $250 I'm gonna make today-ish, $250-ish. I like that blade shape. This is that Kershaw Link I just did, and I do like that blade shape. Oh, I didn't test that edge to make sure it didn't have any pulls or tugs. Just stuck it back in its box without checking. That's, yeah, I wish every day was like that. I've made $250 in 3 hours. I wish every day was like that. A lot of times, I'm not showing off the sharpness when I do this, guys. I don't want you to think that, even if you guys aren't watching, I test, yeah. D2 at 10,000 grit is fucking sharp. Super, super fine. If you've sharpened a lot and know what you're looking for, when you do that and you draw it through that fine paper, you can feel it. You can feel any pulls or tugs or any of the inconsistencies in the edge. And like I said in the video, see how that's already patinaed from being handled? It could just be dirty. It's the Link. What's the link? There it is. There's the box for this. So let's see. One more link to sharpen. So I have 2 more knives here to sharpen. So it'll be yeah, I was right, 250. The copper is not unattractive. I'm not saying it's unattractive. It's just, I got a fart. Is it a fart? Yeah, it's a fart. I'm getting old. I'll tell you something you learn in old age. 2 things. Never trust a fart and never waste a boner. Because you know everybody here has gambled on a fart and lost that bet. Don't tell me you haven't. Don't tell me you haven't. And as you get older, it's just gonna get worse. It's just gonna get worse. Never trust a fart. Trusted that fart too far and lost a bet. I can't take credit for that one. I cannot take credit for that one. There's an old guy that lives way up. I used to go get moonshine from him. He's an old dude from back east. He moved out here, had a horse ranch. And, I went up one time and I used to go up and I get moonshine from him. And I had to talk to that old dude. And so I would go up and I'd talk to him and I'd get some moonshine from him and I would make apple pie. I would take it and I'd cut it down with cider and apple juice concentrate, a little bit of brown sugar, some cinnamon, and then cut it down with some water and cook that all, and then mix it with the moonshine to cut it back and give it some flavor. And it's really good. The problem is, he had some new neighbors move in, he was getting old, and he got rid of the still. But one of the last times I went up and I talked to him, and I was like, I told him I was coming up. We looked at the horses and shit like that. I was like, I'll buy some moonshine off of you while I'm up there. He's like, ah, fuck it. Here, take it. Give me a fucking half a gallon of shine. And he's like, Mike, you ready for some good advice? And he's got to be, it's been a couple years ago. He's got to be in his mid 60s, early 70s at the time. I was like, what's that? He's like, 2 things at my age that you never do. I was like, what's that? He goes, you never trust a fart, you never waste a boner. And I was like, that's fucking hilarious. I probably should go up there and check on that old guy. He's a good old dude. He lived up near, heading up towards Lakeside area. It's not that far, but I mean, it's far enough I don't want to drive up there anymore. Especially if we don't have moonshine. Quotable. That's why I've used it. Oh shit, I'm letting bugs in the house. My wife's gonna fuck kick my ass. Got a good bit of mosquitoes after all these rainstorms and shit. I don't know how it is up where Nico's at. If I can ask him if he gets back on here one of these times, or I'll talk to him later. Mosquitoes are bad out here. I've got a mosquito coil smoking over here. But they've been bad since we had all that. Oh. Hey, there we go. Watch this. This one's got a crank on it. Raise the. Look at that. I can raise it up. Yeah, there's butterflies everywhere. I'm a country boy, so I like shit like that. So it reminds me of home in the spring when all the butterflies are coming out, you know, and or towards fall. Tons of butterflies. They're everywhere. I'm surprised we haven't seen one fly through here. They were out here a lot yesterday. But I bet because my yard's a lot drier now than it was, I bet they're off somewhere else looking for moisture. I don't have much out here to entice the butterflies into my yard. This one was ground way worse than the first one. Yep, this one's gonna require a little bit more reprofiling. There are bugs everywhere. Not necessarily mosquitoes, but there's just bugs on everything. And this, now check this out, watch. You find a spot. That's all pollen. I just I cleaned this desk off, this workbench off Friday. And now there's a ton of just pollen all over everything. That's why my eyes itch and shit. Oh, this one is horrible. Really, really asymmetrical, guys. Here, I'll show you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's really almost chiseled. Can you see it? Let me get in there close on it. Ah, fuck it. We'll turn it around. Hang on. Can you guys see how chiseled tipped that is? A lot of reprofiling. Really asymmetrical. The other one was not this bad. Just gonna have to, no bueno. Ah, it happens. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. The last Hornet I made came off the grinder like that, but I brought it home and I fixed it. It happens. It's easy to do, but here's the thing. I didn't let it leave that way. That's the flip side of that. Jesus. This is so soft, it keeps flip-flop. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, as I'm trying to rectify it, it's kicking back and forth. It's just really soft, that's all. This is a soft steel. I forgot that I was dealing with fairly soft steel on this, but at least I got the issue taken care of. What's up, hey Ray? 28 people at 72 minutes into this? I am gonna have to call it though. I've got stuff I gotta do. Saw a video where guys were praying. You're gonna find a lot of those videos. Well, I've said it before. I don't dislike. Some of the Emerson designs are pretty decent designs. And if you watch my video, I believe I said that. And then if you follow the comments on that Emerson video, Nick Shabazz went in and said the same thing. He's like, 100% agree. Good designs, very poorly executed. And I was like, thanks. Thanks, Nick. I like when people, so they just told me that they're gonna get the logos done and then send me the protos so I can approve it. So I don't know. I sent them my shipping address, so I sent them a little bit more additional information. I sent them a little bit more information, and I do know that everything that gets sent to me is being seen by the CEO. I see that. I see him in the email chain. So, well, we'll see. They'll happen when they happen. The nice thing is, things have not been horrible. I have a little windfall of money that I've squirreled away. The wife and I have been living off of it for almost 2 years. I'm hoping, that would be great. That's something I should ask them. Go to Blade and have my knife there at Blade. Oh, so I had a guy apparently he follows the channel, and he messaged me, and he's like, hey, I think he sent me, I can't remember, he sent me an email or a text. I'd have to look later. But the whole thing was, he was like, hey, I don't know if it's intentional, what you've done. I was like, he's like, but, he said, whether you meant to do it or not, he's like, you said in a video a long time ago that your daughter pointed out that you have a YouTube uniform. Hat, black sweatshirt most of the time, my other black sweatshirt. And, you know, it's just a thing that, like, in every video, with very rare exceptions, I'm wearing the same thing. And I was like, so I sent back, I was like, yeah, it wasn't intentional. It just happens. I like this hat. And I decided, you know, I was just going to wear it. He's like, well, the flip side is, he's like, I don't know if you know this. He's like, there are people that do that intentionally. And he said, most notably was Steve Jobs from Apple. He always wore jeans, the black tank top. And it was a very minimalistic thing, but it became associated with him. And it was just something that you always expected and you always recognized. He says, now, your hat, that the way you present that, the hat, black sweatshirt, and jeans, that's kind of become a persona that people expect. And it's true. When I don't wear this hat, people are like, where's the hat? I didn't do it on purpose, but he's like, there are people that get paid to figure out how to cultivate something like that. And I was like, huh, that's cool. And he goes, well, it puts people at ease. It's a very relaxed, Steve Jobs did it because it was a very relaxed look. It put people at ease with him. It made them associate a relaxed, comfortable environment with his brand. And I was like, well, that's fucking clever as fuck. I fully expect this to be demonetized because I have said the F word way more times than I should in this video. And I do not expect this channel to be able to remain monetized too much later. Okay, I got a couple here. Let's see. What's the turnaround time on having a knife sharpened, Steve? It's about a week to 2 weeks. It just depends. I've got a couple knives here that were supposed to go out last week that did not. And that's my fault because I forgot to pack them up and ran out of time. And they will be going out this week. But it's average about a week to 2 weeks. I mean, I can do, even if I have to work on something, I can do like 2 knives an hour most of the time. So you figure in an 8-hour day, I can do 16 knives a day. I work 6 days a week, but the other 2 days are not necessarily sharpening. They're other things, unless I've got a lot going on and I have to push off the knife making because it's a hobby. This is where the lion's share of the money comes from. And a lot of it depends on the knife too. So wait, was that somebody else? Pierre, what? KBS? You mean IKBS? The bearing system, IKBS? Not 100% sure what you mean. IKBS is an uncaptured bearing system where it's just a trough with a bunch of loose bearings sitting in it. Is that what you're talking about? Yes. Not Sesame Street, you fucking Muppet. So IKBS, I don't necessarily like it. I don't know why it's still an option. You can get captured bearing systems for knives as small as the Reich Hummingbird, which is tiny. There is no need to continue to use IKBS unless it's a super thin profile. And even then, you can just pocket things out. I mean, they're a pain. They're a major pain, and a lot of times, a lot of times, as you wind up with. I had to stand up. My back was starting to hurt from sitting down. That's why we're at a different angle, just in case you guys were curious. I've been out here for 3.5, almost 4 hours. And while that bar stool is way more comfortable than than it used to be now that I have a cushion, thanks to Jeremy Morris. It still hurts my back to sit down on that thing for a long time. So somebody was saying I'm sorry, I know, thanks, definitely interested in some knives for sharpening. Well, in the description below in this video, or almost every one of my videos, my email is down there. If you are interested, just get in touch with me and we'll work up an estimate. I have a link that I'll send you that goes to my standard price structure. And we'll get it worked out and you can send stuff to me. I can't, this knife, I'm afraid that this knife is been treated improperly. It's very soft. If I put any pressure at all, I can feel that edge just roll. So IKBS, I mean, there was a time where IKBS was cool, but what's up? I have not, where have you been? It's not like I haven't been here. 81 minutes, guys. I am gonna have to shut this down. It's bad for my phone. It gets hot and tries to overheat. That's not too bad, but it is warm. Some of them are. A lot of them are still uncaptured, but I mean, here's the thing. I'm doing good. It's a branding thing. Some of them are captured, but the fact is, with it being a brand name like that, it makes it expensive. Why not just go with a regular thrust bearing like the fucking boys at Fair & Forge use? And theirs are small. Problem two. Okay, so another reason I don't like IKBS, and I never thought of this until I talked to Chris Elliott, because I noticed that certain things about knives with multi-row bearing systems felt different and things like that. So take a break for a second. Let's do some science. As Elliot would say, look at this redneck throwing some fucking science into the mix. So, yes, it's a brand name. So, you got your bearing race, and there's bearings in it, right? And they make contact. And so everybody gets this idea where you need more bearings. But the fact is, actually what you're doing by using more bearings instead of less, and larger bearings instead of smaller, is you've increased your point of contact across that bearing race by adding more bearings and making the points of contact larger. So therefore, larger point of contact, more points of contact, more friction. Smaller bearings, and just a few of them, would, by just the way science works, would reduce the friction in that knife. Does that make sense? So I couldn't figure out why some of my knives that had this crazy multi-row bearing system felt sticky and didn't feel as smooth as some of my other knives. Well, thank you, sir. But the thing is, like, it seems so obvious. But until you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that fucking makes sense. You know, it's just not one of those things that pops into your head. You're like, oh, well, more bearings, more better. No, I wouldn't. I say fuck too much. I don't know. Here's the thing. Who said that? Mike, the problem with a few bearings is... So, Mike, the thing is, your bearings aren't going to wear. No, that would be cool for science. Your bearings aren't going to wear. Bearings are super hard. They really are. Way harder than the steel of the knife. And then you've got the question like, oh, well, then it's going to continue to wear, and then you're going to have additional wear, and then you get your things out of whack. Which is not true, most of the time. Let's use Fair & Forge, for example. There's a lot of other knife companies that do this exactly the same. Each one of these pieces of hardware is shouldered. No, wait, just give me a second to finish explaining this, Mike. So each one of these pieces of hardware is shouldered. So you can't, wait, I'll explain it. So what you do is you crank everything down on this, and then you just work that bearing track in. And then it can't cut any deeper because your material here, these shouldered stops, no matter how hard you crank on it, the only thing you do is gonna break a screw. Same with this. So all of this, all of the hardware, stop pin is shouldered, especially right next to pivot. It's part of the system. That's not just a set-in stop pin where you can continue to crank down until you can't. You can only crank it down so far. Therefore, since it's there, you can't crank your pivot down too tight. These are all shouldered to the same width, and that way, yes, you'll get some wear, but then the wear stops, and it just barely contacts, and it's a matched fit. So I don't like to just publicly go, you're wrong, but I have to 100% disagree with you on this. Unless you're talking about some of the cheaper knives that use just, you know, you can continue to crank stuff down and you can tighten it, you can over tighten the pivot, things like that. Does that make sense? I mean, like, you could say the same thing about washers. But if you look at most of the good knives that use washers, they also use set width shouldered pins that sit in, go partway in the hole, and they have a soft area or a flat area that touches the scales and prevents you from over tightening it. And there, yes, you will get overwear and then you get slop and play. But in a good knife, I think most people have figured that, most knife makers have figured that out by now. So, I mean, you could, I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion, you can say the same thing, but I just personally think that I think it's something that is over dramatized. It's one of those things that, yes, it can be a problem in some knives that don't have as high a quality thought process put into them. But like at this point, most good knives you're not gonna run into that issue. You wanna have enough bearings in there that it's even. But the other thing too is, how much wear do you expect to get? The other thing too is, Elliot and I were talking about this, and people are like, oh, the bearings will wear, and this will wear. And I'm like, the fact is that most people, when they think about wear in a bearing system, are relating that to vehicles, cars. And that's hours and hours and hours and hours of continuous high-speed wear. Do you know how many times you would have to flip? I mean, no one knows. You would have to flip a knife all the time, all day, to even get close to the amount of wear that you get on a bearing system in a car, because it's just a partial travel, that far. And then it's gonna sit, and then there's that. It's not even a full rotation. You have to open and close before you get the equivalent to a full rotation. Does that make sense? I mean, yes, bearings in cars have to be replaced all the time. I've got knives. You know what's going to give? You know what's going to give before the bearings in your knife? You know what's going to wear and have to be replaced before, especially like companies that can do it. The part that's going to go first, like your hat, you hold. So the part that's gonna go way before any bearings or anything wear out and stuff like that, hear that sound? That's that hardened blade hitting that stop pin. One of them's gotta be softer than the other, or you're gonna have problems. Your stop pin is gonna wear, and that's where you'll get some play. It's not from your bearings, it's not from your pivot, it's gonna be your stop pin. And I know this because this one got an oversized stop pin. My NTAC got an oversized stop pin. My spinner has an oversized stop pin because Chris and Elliot, that's their solution to blade play. So when you get that blade play, a lot of times you can rotate your stop pin on theirs, which is pretty easy. You just loosen one side, spin it a little bit, tighten it back down, then tighten the other one. Bob's your uncle. There's your blade play is gone because the stop pin is significantly softer. Sometimes the blade will deform, and then what you've got to do is you put an oversized stop pin. So you have to take a little bit of material out inside the interface where the stop pin hits, right there. If you can see it, it's kind of dark, I know. So right there, you take a little bit of material out of there so that you maintain your detent lockup, and then that lifts the blade. It changes the interface of the blade and adds that little bit that was missing, that rattle you were getting. It adds that material back, but not on the blade, on the stop pin. Everybody's like, oh, they just changed it. Somebody tried to tell me, it's like, oh, well, what Chris and Elliot do is they just changed the lock bar interface, the lock bar insert. I'm like, no, it's not at all what you do. Because then you run into some unique problems there because not all the lock bar inserts are exactly the same. All right, I've got to go up one more grit. "91 minutes. Guys, I do have to get off of here. I've got to check some messages and things like that. I may be back on later. I don't know. I've still got sharpening to do. But, I mean, I don't have a lot going on today except sharpening. I do have to go to the shop tomorrow for a little bit. I may just stay up there and work tomorrow because I have to go pick up my dog's medicine. I don't like being called a redneck. Would you guys like to know why? My father didn't like being called a redneck either. I mean, we would fall into the category by Jeff Foxworthy's definition, but where I grew up, you had good old boys, hillbillies, and you had rednecks. And the distinction, major distinction being that rednecks are always, yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't mind being called a hillbilly, but rednecks, there's always a connotation with rednecks and racism. And I don't know if you know this, I'm not racist. So therefore, my dad didn't like it either. He said, rednecks are racist. And he said, there's a difference between a hillbilly and a redneck. Nah. Well, I mean, but that's not, I mean, that's what people call it. But my dad would look at you and go, you know the difference between a good old boy and a redneck? I said, no. He goes, well, good old boys are just good old boys. I said, but rednecks are usually racist. He said, the other thing is, you know the difference between a good old boy or hillbilly and a redneck is hillbillies, well, we raise livestock. Rednecks, they get emotionally attached and involved. There's pet names. They purchase jewelry. And I was like, oh, they fuck the sheep. Oh, I miss my dad. I had a moment where it brought me to my knees, brought me to tears the other day. I know it's going to continue to happen. He's been gone for a little over 2 years. Christmas was two years. And somebody said something, and I grabbed and we were talking about something about something the way my dad used to do it. And I was like, well, hell, I'll call. Ah, fuck. I can't. And it's been 2 years and I still do that. I'll still forget. That's one of the hardest parts. I think we were talking about a recipe for, oh, that's what it was. It was a recipe for how my dad used to do homemade wine. See, I never paid much attention to the homemade wine. And I mean, I saw him do it. I know the basics of it, but damn, that is sharp. But I never really did it. And so I was trying to say, oh, I'll just call my dad. And then I was like, then it hit me. I was like, oh, fuck. Enough of that sad shit. Yeah, no, I'm not a redneck. I'm a hillbilly. It's a big difference. I'll tell you something I saw that irritated the shit out of me. I saw somebody go, and this is kind of political, and I try to avoid this. Somebody that I know and like and respect openly said, well, anybody that voted for Trump is a fucking racist. I looked at him and I said, really? Timmy, you think I'm a racist? He goes, no, you're not racist. Well, I voted for Trump. He goes, you did what? I was like, I placed a vote based upon someone I thought that was going to actually take action. And a lot of people complained, but I have news for you. Trump is taking action. Do you know that this is the first time, last week was the first time he used his veto powers in 2 years? 2 years. Go back and find out how many weeks into Obama's presidency it was before he used his veto powers. Because it wasn't 2 years. Somebody can run them numbers for me. Run them numbers for me, Chief. Employment rates are up. Unemployment rates are the lowest they've been in almost 10 years. New jobs are being created daily. And I go back to the thing where I posted on Instagram, unchecked. It's not even immigration at this point. When you watch that last convoy that came up from Honduras, it was not that was not immigration. That was a fucking invasion. So unchecked immigration will be the worst thing. This country can only support so much. We already support the majority of the civilized world through programs where we provide food and all those things. We're the largest provider of powdered milk, which is one of the largest staples of government-provided supplies and foods to foreign aid. I don't understand. People just don't like Trump. Didn't vote for. It's the flip side of that is my vote is my vote. That's why it's confidential. That's why you do it behind a curtain, right? It should not matter who voted for who. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Give up already. You lost. You don't see that at a football game. But I don't want to get too political. This whole channel will wind up getting demonetized. But oh, I didn't do a test. I got news for you. I actually voted against someone, not really for someone. But I did think that Trump was going to be able to accomplish some of the goals that he set out. And, all right, well, one last thing on that. We have bemoaned and cried about the fact that no one adheres to the policy that they ran on, the platform. I'm gonna build the wall. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this, right? We have cried and bitched and complained that politicians have never followed through on their promises to the people. And we get one who's like, I'm building the wall. Regardless, I'm building the fucking wall. And now we're upset that we have a president that's going to actually follow his running platform. And I don't want it to become that, because you know what? There's one more. There it is. The thing is, I guarantee that Clinton could have been a good president. Her husband was amazing. If you want to know the truth, her husband was an amazing president. There have been very few presidents that have done as much for the military and the average Joe as Bill Clinton did. But there was some dirt that happened in his presidency. So, you know, he was a great president. I But the thing is, I spent so much time in the military, I didn't get to have an opinion of our commander-in-chief. I wasn't allowed to. He was my boss. I don't know if you know this. It's actually, if you're in the military, you can actually get in fucking big trouble for saying bad things about the president. You give up those rights. So, guys, it's been 100 minutes. I gotta clean some of this up, do a quick cleanup so I can start over again. I will talk to y'all later. I don't want this to turn into a political maelstrom. I don't want to offend anyone. It's just, but like I said, it's everybody has their own opinions. So, yep, it happens. It happens. So, guys, I'm gonna get off of here. I'm gonna eat something real quick, and then I'll come back for a second round of sharpening. I got like 5 more knives to sharpen. I'll talk to y'all later. Matt, you're welcome to come over to the house after if you want. I'll still be